256-1006 from 1 right, clear for takeoff.
1 right, clear to go, yeah, 2
2461, 1 right, let up and wait.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Rosewell and this is FlightCast, the Infinite Flight podcast. Infinite Flight is a mobile flight simulator that you can download from the App Store or Google Play. Today, we continue our developer series with part 2. To do that, I have once again joining me from Silicon Valley in California via Skype, Matt Laban and Philippe Rollin. Guys, welcome back to the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Last time you guys were on the show, we heard all about the release of the A320 series, and now that you've had some time to process all of that, how happy are you with that airplane, and how do you think it's been received so far?
I think I'm going to take this one. So the A320 was actually one of our most successful aircraft. Like you said, I mean, it took us a long time to create. The reason for that is that we updated and changed our process to create aircrafts to make it more realistic. The A320 has like way more detailed cockpit, a lot more realistic maps in general. So it all contributed to the time it took for us to release it. But in the end, we're really happy with the results. From now on, most aircrafts will be, all aircraft that we create will be this quality, at least. Because every new aircraft we try to improve as we go. So yeah, it was really good. Maybe Matt, you can detail like how the physics of it was received and.
It's been pretty okay. I think so far the feedback we've got from pilots and people was pretty okay. They were saying that, and I worked hard on this one to make sure that all the parameters were on point, so that when you're on final, you got the exact speed, exact attitude, exact everything. So we're as close as we could ever be, with what we've got now, at least.
I like being able to, like you say, being on final and having the exact attitudes and stuff. It's easy, I find, with this airplane to be coming in maybe on autopilot on your approach, and then when you're on final, I like to just hit the autopilot button so all of the autopilot functions are off, and being at that point where really nothing changes. The attitude doesn't change. You're just... I don't know, it's easy to set the parameters so that you're set up for a really, really nice approach, and then you can fly it in manually.
Yeah, that's something that the first generations of plane from like 2-3 years ago, they didn't really have that. They were balanced a little differently, and most of the time the trim had to be set far back or far forward, depending on what the plane was.
Right.
So now they're a lot more stable. I figured out a way to make this better, so they're a lot more stable.
Yeah, well, you've done it. Nice job. So, and in terms of the public reception, how's that gone compared to other ones? Obviously the quality is better. I would assume that the reception has been better as well.
It's people have been happy with Liveries. We haven't had many. Oh, you missed that one, because with 3-4 planes in total, we've covered a lot of countries, a lot of regions, and it's been pretty good. Plus, we've brought the new, as Philippe was saying, the new rendering system, and this plane takes advantage of all of it, because the older plane, we just have some generic way to render the planes to make them look better, but this one has an extra map, or a couple extra maps that we add on top of the base map to have different reflection based on the type of material. So you can see, for example, that the engine intakes, the circle, like the metallic circle that's in front of the engine, this one does not shine the same way as the rest of the plane,
right? Because
it's brushed. You can see the reflection is totally different.
Same thing between the tires, the rubber of the tires that should not reflect as much as the metal of the rest of the plane. There's a lot of things like this. It's not, to be clear here, it's not something that will be as visible on very low-end devices, but it scales really well. Like if you're on a high-end device and you set all the quality settings to high, it makes a big difference. Unfortunately, we cannot have this kind of quality on very low-end device, so it's really you really have to have a performant device to have this level of quality.
And that's something you can tell if you just go to IFFG and take a look at some of the screenshots people are taking. They're awesome. And you guys actually I mentioned this in my episode with Jay a couple weeks ago, Jay Rex Solis. He had someone on IFFG took a picture. You guys actually used it as your loading screen for a little while. That photo was amazing. Just the quality of that airplane, it looked real.
Yeah.
And speaking of liveries, guys, you do have one of your in-game mods, Mark, is still waiting on his Northwest livery.
Well, you mean for the A320 series?
You know what? A320, any airplane in the game, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was trying to have me do one for the Dash-8, but problem is they don't operate a Q400, so it's not gonna happen.
Oh, wow! Mark is gonna burst into tears when he listens to this episode. Oh man!
Well, maybe we'll do one we can redo one for the Airbus 320 series, maybe.
Oh well, okay, Mark, you can keep holding your breath. So since you just mentioned the Dash-8, let's just jump right in and we'll talk about the huge elephant in the room. Everybody's waiting to hear this one. Matt, you've been pretty aggressively posting photos on Instagram in the last couple of days, which were at first subtle, something from a distance. Now they're not so subtle at all. So the much awaited Bombardier Dash-8 is making its way to Infinite Flight. Can you tell us about this, to me, very exciting and great addition to the Infinite Flight fleet, and the process that kind of led you to add it?
All right, so the reason why we added it is, of course, because there's been a lot of demand for it, and we've obviously been missing a twin turbo prop for a long time. It's actually the first one we're having now, and there's one reason why this got delayed a little bit was because we didn't have any sounds for it, and we didn't want to reuse the same sounds for the 208s because those are not as good as they could be, and so Jarno I think he started in September to work on that model. So, and he's still not, we're still doing the final touches. So it takes a lot of time to do this. So just people ask for it, we're going to have it. And in the request, people were specific. They wanted the Q400. And it's not, we're probably just going to have the Q400 for now, at least, mainly because the cockpit is so different for the other ones. They're not like modern glass cockpits, so it takes a lot of time for Jarno to, even if the cockpit layout or the cockpit model is roughly the same, doing all these instruments takes a lot of time.
Right.
So it's just going to be the Q400 for now. Well, although I like the shorter versions. I like every shorter versions of the airplanes that we have, like the A318 and the 737 7. I think looks better than the 9, and so we might have it later. At least we have the model. Everything's in place, so it's easy for us to just like later down, the life of Infinite Flight. So like, oh, can you do this model real quick? It's going to be pretty easy to do. It's just like there's more pressing things to do, especially because users have requested the Q400.
Right. And if you guys were to do other models of the Dash-8, you'd almost need new sounds, because the Q400 is so much quieter than, even in the cockpit. You don't have to, you see pilots on YouTube wearing big kind of those headphones that are noise canceling because it's so loud in those things. And the Q400 is just another story altogether. It's more like sitting in the cockpit of a jet, or so I've heard. So,
okay, well, we're not at this point right now. It's if we were to do the other versions, it's probably going to be using the same sounds because it takes a lot of resources, and it's even if it's like a significant thing for pilot, we're just still a simulation, and there's
sounds is something that is very also subjective. Like it's hard to Because if you look at videos, most people out there probably did not fly a Q400 or were in the cockpit like during a flight.
Yep.
So they see a video and they're gonna listen to it and then fly and say, oh, this is not like in the video. And the problem is the video. Okay, what kind of microphone did they use?
Right.
I mean, it's hard, and that's a problem that most when we were working with a sound designer before, like that's a big problem that you have when you try to design sounds for things like aircrafts. So yeah, it's a complex thing to do. So
what is the process for obtaining sounds for that? Do you have somebody who's specifically going and recording these sounds for you, or are you buying packages? Or and maybe this is something that you can't disclose, but I'm just wondering, there must be a lot. I mean, you've got sounds 360 degrees around the airplane. How does that work?
Well, we did for the 172, we did the recording with we had a sound designer that helped us with that. And then all the tweaking, like he did a bunch of tweaking, and then Matt also did a lot of tweaking to make it even more realistic, because the sound designer was a good sound guy, but not a pilot, so he doesn't know also like how a plane sound like when you fly inside of it. But some of it is stuff that we got from other like people who sell sound, like for flight simulator plugins and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we got their sounds at a not at the price that you get it in a flight simulator plugin. Those cost a lot more money if you want to have the original sounds.
Right.
And like some other sounds that we can find on the internet. I mean, and then we mix it together, and Matt creates like a 360 version of it, so it sounds like a little bit different behind than in the front or on the sides.
Okay. And then Matt, what was the starting point for the design on the Dash-8? Did you start with an existing flight model and tweak it, or is this something that you started from scratch with again?
So right now we have enough models. I mean, different variety of models that I can go from one. So this one I started with the A318 because it seemed like the closest one in terms of weight, and so I started with this one, moved a bunch of weights around, and adjusted the positions of the wing, the area, all the stuff that I can adjust. The only problem that I have with the Dash-8 right now is something that I'm waiting on some data from our pilots on the field, is the thrust of the engine. It's not as they don't give you the thrust as they do for the jet engines. They give you like the torque or something, and it's not as easy to transform that into thrust in pounds or kilograms per whatever that I use in the game.
Oh, so you're making you have to make different calculations for thrust then, is what you're saying?
Well, it's the same. The thing is, what I'm waiting on is a bunch of typically I have a little questionnaire that I send pilots who are interested, and it contains a bunch of key points like, so give me the plane at a certain weight, level flight, this altitude, this temperature, this flap configuration. Tell me what thrust you're selecting, like what's the percentage of power that you're applying to maintain what speed, and what's the attitude. And once I have multiple versions of this config, like multiple configurations, then I can definitely adjust drag and thrust if it's not correct. But I need these data points, and I can't really just rely on computing all this stuff on the fly, because there's always things that don't really match. And since like it's a simulation, so you have to cut corners at some point. So there's still parts of the flight model that I have to adjust on the airplane, especially the drag part, which is chaotic. So it's difficult to just compute that.
Right. And this airplane is quite different in terms of even the way it's shaped and the way it looks and everything. And so I'm assuming the drag would be quite different.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I need to get in touch with someone who can hook me up to to fly in one. So
I actually might be able to help you with that, so let's chat after.
okay, sure.
Um,
Thanks.
okay, so at the end of our last chat, guys, we said that we would talk a little bit more about flight physics. So we wanted to get into a little bit more of maybe the nerdy side of it, or should I say the geeky side of it, which most people who are listening to a podcast about a flight simulator, they've got that part covered anyway. So hopefully everybody will find this interesting. But as much as you think is relevant, can one of you explain what goes into the development of an aircraft and how it relates to the external physics? So first, you've got to start with those physics first, right? I mean, you've got to. Well, I'll just let you. Instead of asking theoretical questions, I'll just let you start.
Okay, so I guess I'll take this one. So the way we simulate the airplane right now is with we have a physics engine that's a third party, and what this physics engine provides is a way for you to set the rough outline of an airplane, like with boxes and weights depending on where how much the wing weighs, how much the engines weigh, and all that stuff. And we put wheels on, below that we attach wheels to this structure that looks like the outline of an airplane, and that's all the engine does. The engine just has the plane sitting on the ground, and the way we simulate this is we add virtual wings on it, and then so we say where the wings start, where they end, how much is their length, the area, we have different lift curves throughout the whole span of the wing, because you've seen a wing, it's very thick near the fuselage, and it becomes a lot thinner towards the end of the wing. So we simulate that with different lift curves that we compute from various sources, and we have a little tool inside the app when in developer mode, when we launch the application with an airplane, it shows you a little window where you can adjust the lift curves, the area, a bunch of other things, the drag. We have the drag for the flaps, all that stuff. And once we have all this information, for every step of the simulation, what happens is we ask the physics engine, how is the plane moving? So we get vectors, and with these vectors we compute the angle of attack for multiple sections of the wing. We sample multiple points on the wing, and after that we compute the lift, the drag, and we tell the physics engine, at this point on this model there's a lift of this much, a drag of this much, and hopefully when you have a little force forward for where the engine is, if you keep applying this force, at some point you're going to have enough wind velocity or velocity over the wing to create enough lift so that the plane goes up. So the funny thing is, maybe I mentioned that last time, I forgot, but the way I got started with this, like back in 2004, was I was playing this little car game, and after a while I would just like drive the car around with there was a physics engine sample, and I would flip the car over, like drive over things and flip the car over, and then every time I had to restart the app to start again, to play again. So what I did is I added a little force on the side of the car that would flip it back on its wheels. And I realized, like, what if I put more forces, and what if I make those forces adjust with the angle of attack and velocity? That would make the car fly. And this is what happened. This is how the physics engine for Infinite Flight was started. So basically, this is what happens. It's a continuous loop of figuring out what the angle of attack is, the velocity of each point on the wing, and then computing all those forces and getting them back to the physics engine, asking the physics engine to advance the simulation one time step, and then doing it over again.
At 30 times 30 to 60 times a second.
Yeah.
And then when you're factoring in things like turbulence, is that just kind of spiking some of those numbers?
So the turbulence, the way it's done now, it's I don't know if it's the optimal way. It's the way I found just randomly. We have this system that has where you can sample a point in our world and say what's the wind velocity and direction at this particular point, and it's going to give you a vector that I'm going to subtract or add to the current velocity. So for example, if you're flying towards the wind, you're going to get a vector that's flying, in your face, basically.
Right. Okay.
So the wind wind velocity that's going to be used to compute that the lift on that point is going to be the forward plus the wind in your face. And if there's a turbulence on that particular region, and that's computed with like a noise system, where depending on some factors, there's the turbulence are shorter, longer. If there's for example one wing is sampling an area that has there's a wind that has high velocity, then that wing is going to go up, and the other one's going to go just stay the same or go down depending on what turbulence it's encountering. So you're flying inside a field of vectors, and that's what's impacting your plane.
So there's lots of ones and zeros going on behind the scenes when you're flying.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add to the flight physics chat before we move on?
I think I mean
a lot of people ask for crash physics.
Oh man, let's not go there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is something we can. I mean, the reason why we're not doing it is because we're trying not to, to have big airliners with their logo on it to crash.
Right.
That's something that we try to avoid. But it doesn't mean we'll not try to do something a little bit more realistic at some point. But this is not our first goal as a flight simulator.
Okay. Well, with physics, maybe just to put a cap on this chat, do you see anything like wind shears or things like humidity playing a factor at some point in the future?
We simulate humidity already. I mean, it's at a fixed value right now.
Okay.
But we simulate pressure, humidity, a bunch of different. But like all the parameters of the atmosphere we support, which is why if you go to Big Bear in Southern California and you take off in a 172 at 40 degrees Celsius, it's not going to go up.
Right.
Yeah. Because we simulate all that stuff. And the thing is, when I was doing all the testing for this, changing the humidity impacts lift a little bit, but it doesn't make much difference. It's more the temperature that's the biggest impact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So guys, of course, everybody wants to know what's next. That's the biggest question that we get when we ask for fan questions for these. What's coming next? What's coming next? So I want to ask, FlightCast is asking you guys for an exclusive sneak peek. Can you give us anything? What's on the horizon for Infinite Flight?
So, I mean, probably not things that people want first, but there's a few elements that we needed to improve. There's one thing that we wanted to have is a better website already, like a better landing page for Infinite Flight. Obviously, it's just not a pretty web page. It will have a way for live users to log in and check their stats, renew their live subscription if they want to. So it's going to be it's probably going to be ready pretty soon. We just wanted to have a better front facing website for anybody that are interested into Infinite Flight.
Nice.
The other thing that Matt hinted at with his Instagram pictures is we changed the UI a little bit. I mean, it looks quite different. We changed a little bit the colors and all that, but it's not just for the sake of changing it. It's really because we wanted to make make it easier to, especially for live users, to see where the activity is right away. Like you come in and you can see, oh, there's that many people here in this region with, the in this airport there's a couple controllers. So if you go there, you're gonna have you're gonna have activity and you don't have to search for it. So that's something that we're trying to try to improve with this new UI. Some people might have seen there's an activity map in that UI. It's actually an interactive map where you can see you don't see everybody like flying in there, but you can see like where the activity happens. So it gives you a sense of where to go fly if you want to be with other people. For the solo flight, I mean it won't be very different for them, but it's a lot easier to use. And so that's what's coming pretty soon, probably the next release along with the Dash-8.
Okay. Now I have to ask you guys. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
One couple things that we're adding also is in the whole live thing that we want to promote a little more. Events are not going to be, so we're not on the main page. We're going to pull all the events that are posted on community.infiniteflight.com in the event/live section. So we're going to pull all these events and show them in a way that you can clearly see what's happening and when it is, what region, what airports. And you can also, we added a little icon so you can add the events to your calendar. So the good part about this is, I've seen and I've personally missed a bunch of events just because I knew they were happening and I just didn't have my phone remind me that this was happening. So now it's just one click away. Just click, it adds to your calendar, and then you'll be reminded like an hour before that you have to join. If you want to. And last thing we added is clarification on the grade stuff, because there's been a lot of questions about what's going on when they can't join with their grade 2, grade 3, whatever, and about like what are the requirements to get a grade 3, 4, 5, whatever. So now when you're gonna go to your user account page, you can click on your grade and it's going to tell you what grade you are and what you're missing to go to the next one. So kind of a summary of how many violations you've had, how many flights you've done. So it's going to be much clearer now why you can or can't join a server.
Awesome. I'm going to ask you guys a question. One thing that neither of you guys have mentioned is, and it doesn't look like anyone's actually commented on this, Matt, and I don't know if this was on purpose by you or not, but actually it looks like yesterday you posted an Instagram photo and it's got your tablet with FlightCast loaded up on it. And I noticed something, actually Joe noticed this before I did, that your flight plan in FlightCast has something very interesting about it. Would you like to tell us about that?
It's probably because I was planning a flight in real life. That's it. No, there's no.
Oh, there's no other secret behind it than that.
No other secret. It's a flight that I've done a few months ago, and that's it. There's no secret.
I thought I was onto something there. Now
I know people, are always looking for clues and hints, but this one wasn't.
I thought I had you. It's so great to be able to track flights live and find places to open frequencies where the traffic is in Infinite Flight. Cam is here to tell us a bit more about LifeFlight.
I think you pretty much nailed it, Jason.
Awesome, but there is more to it than just flight tracking.
Indeed. Have you tried flying with a joystick on your iPad yet? The AutoNav feature in Connect is pretty sweet too, I must admit.
So what's coming next for LifeFlight?
You'll have to wait and see, but let's just say flying on Infinite Flight will never be the same again. Go and check out what we have out now though. You easily spend countless hours tracking flights in Infinite Flight Live whilst doing some proper joystick flying.
Thanks, Cam. In the meantime, everyone, head over to liveflightapp.com for your next flight. Now back to the podcast. Okay, thanks for giving us a little sneak peek on all that stuff, guys. Why don't we just go straight into some questions on Facebook, if you guys are okay with that? Mm-hmm. We had tons. So obviously I can't do them all. But what we'll do maybe is if it's okay with you guys, I might ask you a few more just by email or on Slack and get a few answers from you when you have some time, and then we'll maybe post a blog entry with some more Q&A. So first things first, I was going to include a question about joystick use, but Killian asked a great one that kind of covers that, so I'll just let him ask it. The question is, with the continuing growth of Infinite Flight on the mobile platform, and the possibility of a PC or console version being developed along with support for joysticks, etc., has any consideration been given to hiring more developers to become a stronger competitor in the PC console platforms?
Well, developers are really expensive resources.
True.
Especially in California. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely something that I think we're reaching the limit of our capacity, like as like the 3 developers that we are right now, with everything that still needs to be done to be a good competitor in the PC market. But yeah, this is obviously we're discussing it all the time. It's probably gonna. I would say that this year probably we're gonna have somebody else on board to help us out, like especially when we start pushing on PC.
Okay.
If not, like 2, or we'll see how it goes. Like if everybody buys it, then yes.
Okay, awesome. So can I assume that some PC work is being developed now then?
Well, I mean, we've never really. I mean, everything points at it, like joystick support, and also a lot of pictures that Matt has been posting on Instagram shows. Like, I mean, if you put the pieces together, I mean, we're definitely this is something that we're looking at. Yes.
Okay. So David is wondering, how do you guys create regions, and what software do you use to develop them?
Should I? Yeah, you want to take this, Matt?
I'll take this one. So, I mean, it's something we're in the process of redesigning for future endeavors. But the way we've done sceneries in the past and up until like still doing that now is we use multiple sources. It's an in-house tool that compacts all the data and that gets it from multiple sources. So we have OpenStreetMap, we have the team that Cameron's been building, where they work on all the airports. So we get all their data, compile that, clean it up, and put it in the file as well. For the elevations, we use a publicly available elevation data source, which is SRTM. It's the space shuttle mission that these guys just scanned the planet. It's an older data set. It has some issues, and you guys have seen that, where the water goes up and stuff like that. So we try to fix all those issues, but there's still some little pieces that are hard to fix. So this is pretty much how we do it, because for the cities and the water we use data sets that come from, I think it's part of OpenStreetMap, and it's just a matter of processing all this data, and it's not as easy as when people think it's just press on a button. Sometimes we press on a button and the scenery is generated, but there's instances. I've spent a lot of time cleaning up the data from OpenStreetMap. Even though there's a standard with how the water bodies, for example, is supposed to be inserted into OpenStreetMap, there's always one guy that's going to do it a different way, and it messes up the entire, like for example, in Hawaii, I spent a lot of time making this one work, because all the area around the airport that's in the center, the closed airport that's in the center of that bay, it was all messed up. And I couldn't really do a special case for this, because I hate to do special cases. So there was a lot of testing and error and trial and error to make things work. So it takes a lot of time, especially with this huge amount of data sets, because if you download a region like Hawaii in OpenStreetMap, this is like gigs of data. And to parse this data, it takes a lot of time. So yeah, it's all in-house tools for now.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, the thing to understand with regions and scenery is that there's no clean, easy, ready to use data sets available. And this is why even on like for other flight simulators on PC, like it costs a lot of money, and people are making a lot of money selling those packs because it requires buying imagery and to recreate like realistic environments, and buying also, I mean, or buying data sets that have already been cleaned up. That comes from many different sources, and that's a huge struggle for anybody who's trying to make a realistic environment.
Okay. Where everybody's always asking about 3D buildings. Is there ever I'm not really in that camp, but as you guys already know, but is there any possibility of 3D buildings or 3D terrain or anything? I mean, I know we have mountains and things like that, but I'm talking, trees, bridges, things like that.
The buildings is definitely something. I mean, we know people want it. We know it's important. I mean, we were talking about it with Matt. Just I mean, every time we talk about it, we've definitely did some work already. I mean, we actually did some work a long time ago, but there was some limitation back then, and there's still some limitation now if we want to do it right. Because yes, I mean, we can definitely have. Put some buildings in each airport, but how do you put buildings in all airport quickly? We could also, another way to look at it is trying to make one airport really look nice, but then how much time, I mean, every time we need to spend a lot of time on each airport, and there's a lot of airport out there, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of trying to find the right way to do this. It's definitely on our radar. I mean, we did a lot of work already and inquiries to see how we could add some buildings in there. We want it as much as everybody else. We have along with buildings, there's other big things that we want to work on. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. So Alexei always has some really interesting questions. I'll just ask one of them here. He's saying, and it's kind of long, so I'm just going to read it. How difficult is it to combine various frameworks and libraries with Infinite Flight, since the app itself is written in C Sharp, right? Is written in C Sharp, and he says, say, iOS libraries in Objective-C or Swift. Has this caused any significant roadblocks during the time you've worked on Infinite Flight?
I think Matt and we agree on this. Is like C Sharp was probably the best decision we made early on. I mean, we were both pretty proficient in C Sharp from the beginning, because we were both Windows developers, and we were working a lot with the Windows building tools and all that before working on Infinite Flight. So C Sharp is a language that's very similar to C++, but it's a language that was created by Microsoft in response to Java. So if you've done Java in the past, you look at C Sharp, everything is very similar. The advantage that C Sharp has, I think, over C++ is like there's a lot of things that are already done for you, like a lot of library that you can use that you don't have to recode. Also, the environment is really pleasant to use. The thing is, since it's a Microsoft product, like we're using a compiler that's sold by, it's a company that created a compiler that takes C Sharp and transform it to Objective-C, so you can run it on your iPhone. And same thing, it does the same thing for Android, where it compiles it to I think it compiles it to Java actually. So it runs on Android. And it's this framework that we use actually does all the glue with existing iOS libraries. So it's fairly easy. I mean, it comes with its. That's the problem. Anytime you want to use a third party to do something, it comes with its own bugs and issues. So it has its own bugs and issues every time they have a new version. Like to add support for iOS 9 libraries, for example. We have issues to deal with, and that's something that's sometimes very annoying. But overall, it's been very very helpful for us to be able to just code in one language and make it work on both iOS and Android with very, very limited code change between the two. And, PC.
Arnold had an awesome question, and I hadn't actually thought about this, but for the Q400 on the Dash-8, will you be able to feather the props?
Quick answer is no. We're gonna keep it simple for now.
Okay. And prop feathering would help in reducing drag and
engine out situation. But since we don't have engine out situations, I don't think it's plus when we have this, we have to animate the prop, and there's a bunch of there was I answered the question this morning where people were saying can we turn off the engine, and that just turning off the engine isn't as simple as just just turn off the engine, because then you have to think about the sound. If you have the sound to turn off, you have the sound to turn on again, and then you have to model the props that are turned off. So we have these models now for future proofing, but you have to blend them together when the engine's turning off. That also means that you have to send this information over to the network so that other people can see that you're starting up. So there's a bunch of things that are involved in turning off an engine.
Not to mention sounds, right?
Yeah, the sounds, all the events for the sounds, the UI, because now you need a UI to shut it down and start it up. So it's not as trivial as people think. I mean, we're gonna have this eventually, of course. It's all we're in this for the long run, which is why we've proven with our track record that we're not here to just do a quick Farmville type of game and move on to something else.
Well, and I think that was especially notable during the release of the A320 series. So, okay, so Tom is asking if there will be any Canadian liveries for the Dash-8. There's been some speculation around that. Obviously, on the community forum, there's huge threads anytime a new airplane's coming out about which liveries will be coming out. Can you confirm any beyond the ones that you've already shared on Instagram?
There's not going to be any Canadian liveries. I'm kidding. No.
What?
No,
that's okay. You know what? I wouldn't be upset because we have lots already.
No, there's I think it's Air Canada Express, or Canada something.
There's
Express.
Air Canada Express and Jazz that fly. I think that fly Dash-8s. Yep.
So we have this one. I think WestJet is Canadian, right?
Yeah, but do they have? You might be thinking of
Encore, WestJet Encore or something.
Oh. Porter flies out of Toronto Island, out of Billy Bishop, but I didn't know that WestJet actually flew the Dash-8, but maybe they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have it on the website. WestJet Encore.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Jarno is pretty knowledgeable about this stuff. Sometimes I ask him, can we have this one? No, it's not on the 400. Okay, well, good, okay.
Well, he knows more than I do, that's for sure.
No, they sold it 10 years ago. Oh, okay.
Well, and actually, Mark showed me a picture of a Dash-8. I'm assuming it wasn't the Q400, but of a Dash-8 in the Northwest Livery. So maybe they never built it, but they definitely.
Yeah. I found the source of that picture. He tried to make me, ask Jarno, but it was actually on the forum. Someone said let's, what would it look like on a Q400? So some guy actually made the livery in a Q400, but they never had one.
Sneaky.
Nice try.
Nice try, Mark. Okay, so we've got some Canadian liveries coming up. Kind of going along with that, I'll skip down to Robert's question. Do you guys have any plans for a Canadian region? It's a Canadian podcast, guys, so I'm just going to stay on this train. I like this line of questioning.
I'll let Philippe answer this one.
The answer better be yes.
Well, the regions, there've been a lot of people who wants more regions and bigger regions and flight between regions. We might add some regions, but we rather focus on improving our overall scenery right now, because this is obviously, I mean, we spend a lot of time trying to make the aircraft really nice, and we spend a lot of time on live, and definitely the scenery needs a lot of love right now, and we're trying to do all of it together. So I think we're more focused on general scenery improvements. But it doesn't. If those take too long, then we might release new regions in the meantime. But we definitely yeah, our focus is more on general improvement of
Okay,
the
well
regions.
let me ask you then. You're being a little vague. Can you expand on what you just said about regions? What or scenery rather? What might you be talking about there?
What people have been asking, like bigger regions, being able to fly maybe between regions, stuff like that. But it's a little bit too early to to talk about this at this point. It's
All we can
obviously like a lot of
yeah.
work.
All we can say is our eyes have seen things that are really awesome.
What a useless comment. I can't do anything with that. Can you imagine the promo for this episode? We're going to allude to some things that your eyes have never seen before in IF, but we're not actually going to say what it is.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. If we say, this is going to happen, and then we don't deliver it on time or exactly what it was supposed to be, then we're going to get blasted in the face.
I mean, there's no secret here. I mean, we've been working to improve our scenery offering for a while. Every single release, in the past year, has in the background some improvements to facilitate longer bigger regions and stuff like that. So this is something that we're waiting on making better advancement into our work. So before we can share anything there, and as soon as we know where we're going, we'll tell you.
Okay, fair enough. Matt, you've not been very subtle with your Instagram account, though. I mean, we know from at least one Instagram shot that you have some inter-region stuff happening.
No.
Well, if you're referring to a post from 2013, that was not actually on Instagram. I think it was on my Twitter at the time.
No, this was recent with your
the UI. Yeah, it was the UI.
UI,
it was speculation from the comments.
No, it's not. It's just that map is just to show, what the activity is around the world.
We do have regions. We do have regions around the world. So the easiest way to present that information is a map. Yes, you cannot fly all over the map, yet, but it's.
And when that happens, you're gonna see me flying, away from the regions on LifeFlight.
Ah, yes, okay. Listen, guys, it wouldn't be a fun episode if I didn't give you a hard time at least a little bit.
No, that's fair. You're doing your job.
Okay, so and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this name properly, but I think it's Jera. Is wondering if there are any other games you ever wanted to design. So you guys have been focusing a lot on Infinite Flight. Obviously, this is your bread and butter. But have there ever been any other kind of, obviously with entrepreneurs and developers, the wheels are always turning. So anything else kind of on your sights, either in the past or for the future?
No, I mean, for now, we're fully dedicated to Infinite Flight. The thing is, as you can see, we've been expanding. I mean, trying new things live, something that no other simulator does, especially on mobile. And we're experimenting with. This is how we try new things. Is trying to explore around Infinite Flight. And I mean, a flight simulator takes years and years, if not decades, to become good, and this is we're in there, as Matt was saying earlier. We're in there for the long run. We've been there for what, 5 years now, almost. Since 2011 on when we first started on Windows Phone. If you can remember an app that was available 5 years ago on the App Store and is still alive today, I challenge you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It's we're definitely trying to give our all to Infinite Flight, and as long as it works, as long as we have an awesome community, great podcast host and all that, so there's no reason for us to spend time on any other project at this point.
Awesome. Okay, so I've been trying to get info out of you this time. But in terms of like for 2017, where are we a year from now? Where again, everybody wants to know, where do you see yourselves in a year or in the future? Where do you see yourself next year for Infinite Flight?
Matt, I mean,
it's like end of 2017. Ideally, this is like a super long roadmap. We have cross region flights, and we have animated cockpits. This is like 2 years from now.
Okay.
We have animated cockpits. We have PC version. We have buildings. We have everything.
Infinite Flight comes with your own plane.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I can design my own livery, right? I think that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
No.
But I mean, if we ever come to PC, there's something that people are going to hack, and we're probably going to provide a way to add new liveries. But it's something that it's people know. If you want to know what feature we're going to implement, just look at reality. Subtract what we're now, and this is what the features are going to be. We're going to do everything that's humanly possible. It just takes a lot of time, and we don't want to rush things, rush a feature that it's implemented badly, and then a year down the line we're like, oh, now it's all, if we have to redo this from scratch, or we did this, like for example, if I adding new things, for example, now based on regions, if we know that a year and a half from now regions are going to be gone, then it's a problem, because you're going to have to redo all that piece of code. So you might as well just think ahead and either not do the feature, or do the feature with the thought that things are going to change, so it's easy for you to change it later. So we're going to add things. We're here for the long run, so
awesome.
You can expect us even in 2025. Hopefully.
Well, you can expect a lot of us, if not most of us, to be here along with you guys.
Thank you.
So, what else? You guys have anything else before I let you go today?
I'm good.
Thank you for doing this FlightCast. I mean, you're already at episode 14. It's really cool. I mean, we're definitely listening to each one of them, and it's great to see people in the community. I mean, there's you. I mean, Cameron with his LifeFlight, and tons of all the people, IFFG and the IFWP and all the different little groups. This is the best way to motivate us and to make us work harder and hopefully faster towards what everybody wants. I mean, everything that you want, we do our best to work on it, and to give you the best that you guys deserve.
Awesome. Well, guys, both of you put it on your calendar for September. We're going to try and make a live FlightCast episode happen. So
cool.
We're coming to you. San Diego.
Yeah. All right.
Nope, not San Diego. We're coming to you in San Francisco.
Yeah. Positive.
Awesome. Okay, guys, once again, it's been a huge pleasure. Thanks again for chatting with me today.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
That was Matt Laban and Philippe Rollin, Infinite Flight developers from Flying Development Studio. Both guys joined me on Skype from San Francisco, California. Keep listening to FlightCast to find out when our developer series will continue. Thanks as always for listening. If you haven't already, head over to the App Store or Google Play for Android and download Infinite Flight. For more FlightCast, visit flightcast.audio and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/FlightCastAudio and on Twitter at FlightCastAudio. If you have any ideas for the podcast, please leave them in the comments. FlightCast is brought to you by Linkhouse Media on the web at linkhousemedia.com. And guys, podcasting takes time and money, so if you have a few extra bucks, we would love it if you would consider donating to help keep us going strong. To donate, visit flightcast.audio and click the yellow PayPal button in the sidebar. To cover the fine print, FlightCast is not affiliated with Infinite Flight or Flying Development Studio. I'm Jason Rosewell. Thanks for listening, and happy landings.